Welcome to That Guy Talks Movies. I am that guy talking movies, and on this episode, we are talking Quentin Tarantino, Roger Avery, Gala Avery, and Video Archives, the podcast. And we're also talking Tarantino's cinema speculation. Really wanted to do this episode for a bit now since having this. This is the physical copy of the book, which I deeply recommend you actually purchase. But I purchased the Audible when it was first available, and I've listened to this probably 3 or 4 times. I'm probably on my 5th time listening to the whole thing, and then chapter by chapter, just different things, and listening to Tarantino. The first chapter is Tarantino narrating, and the rest of it is someone else narrating, but still you get Tarantino's voice, you get his passion for the films, and what he's describing about like early 70s cinema and such. And it's just fucking amazing, to say the least, for anybody who is a cinephile, somebody who's deeply in love with movies. To listen to and to read this book is just unbelievable. Like it's a must. I can't recommend that enough. And then there's the Video Archives, which is Tarantino and Roger Avery's podcast, which is available. I think it started in June or July of 2022, and I am so fucking glad I discovered this. If you've seen Tarantino interviews, if you're a Tarantino fan, if you're a film lover, a cinephile, whatever you want to fucking call yourself, you like movies, right? If you've seen Tarantino speak about his work and talk about movies and his fascination with movies, and Leone and Corbucci and different filmmakers and Brian De Palma and all these different things, if you've seen him speak, it's like you can never stop watching and listening to someone like that talk. And it's true for anything, for any profession. If you're into a particular profession, if you listen to Jordan talk about basketball and talk about the history of like, watch The Last Dance, for example, right? If you're a sports fan and you watch that, to get some of those stories coming from the actual players, coming from an icon like Jordan, like, you could tune in and listen to that all day. For me, it's film, it's cinema, it's the love, the passion of movies, and my history of movies and going to the movies. I remember when I was younger, seeing a movie for the first time in the theater, and it's just, you know, there are different points in your life where movies mean different things to you, and listening to someone like Tarantino, who is a master at this and is a genuine lover of film, is, I mean, it's like a masterclass in filmmaking and film studies. So the Video Archives podcast is, so basically, if you know the history of Tarantino, he worked at Video Archives. It was a video store back in the day, back when you actually walked in and got to browse the videotapes, which was something a lot of people, this generation, does not understand. But going into a video store, we used to go into different sections, and you'd have to look for the tapes, and you look at the coverage, you turn them over, and you'd kind of decide what you were going to get, and you rented them, and then you had to rewind them and bring them back. So Tarantino worked at a video store, and Roger Avery worked at that same video store. So this podcast is the two of them discussing their time there at the video store, and also a lot of films, like obscure films and different things. And I think they recommend different films. They watch 2. I think there's also like a bonus one every week, every episode. So they talk about 2 to 3 different films, and they have an in-depth discussion about it. And they go back and they rewatch films that perhaps, you know, Roger has recently seen and Quentin hasn't seen in a while. And they go back and they revisit them, and they watch them together on VHS, and then they do the podcast. And Roger's daughter, Gala Avery, she also talks about her passion for film, and she gives her take on a lot of the films. So it's absolutely, again, it's a masterclass in cinema, a masterclass in film studies. And since then, this is what I've done. Now, I talk to people about this all the time. I used to say this on my channel. I used to close out my channel by saying, remember, if you've never seen a movie and it came out 50 years ago, 30 years ago, whenever it came out, if you've never seen it, it's a brand new movie for you. When you put it on and you watch it for the first time, it doesn't matter if it came out 30 years ago. You're watching it for the very first time. It's a brand new movie for you. It could have came out yesterday, right? As far as you're concerned. So I love going back to revisit movies and talk about that. And when I first started this channel, the whole intention was, because I started during the pandemic and people weren't going to the theater to see new content, I was bringing up old movies. I started off one of my favorite movies, David Fincher's Seven, and I talked about that. I talked about all these old films and revisiting old film. Tarantino, between cinema speculation and Video Archives, I've gone back and I started to rewatch films that I had seen when I was younger that I couldn't appreciate at that particular point in time, or films that I saw a while back, but I don't remember them. They're kind of like passing memories. Maybe I saw bits and pieces of them, and whatever. So I've gone back, and just from cinema speculation from the book and from Video Archives, this is the amount of material I've watched, like, in the last month. Joe, 1970, Peter Boyle, incredible really, we'll get into that. Bullet, I watched I went through a whole McQueen thing. That might have just been me on my own going through a McQueen phase, whatever. But yeah, Tarantino does talk about Bullet and does a lot of talk about McQueen in several earlier chapters in Cinema Speculation. The Getaway, Sam Peckinpah, The Great Escape, The Wild Bunch, Deliverance. I went back and watched that. I saw that a while ago and couldn't quite appreciate it the same way. True Romance, which obviously Tarantino's first screenplay. And I watched that recently only because I ordered the special edition of it. There's a Arrow Video put out like a thing, 4K of True Romance. So I watched that. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, Rolling Thunder, great film. Lords of Flatbush, early Stallone, 1974. Dressed to Kill, which I'd seen several times, but again, like 10, 15 years ago. And I just got the 4K Blu-ray of that, and it's freaking fantastic. One of De Palma's best films. Suspicion, Alfred Hitchcock. Sisters, another Brian De Palma film, early film. Blowout, another early Brian De Palma film, which I got issues with that, but we'll talk about it another time. Greetings and Hi Mom, early De Palma films that I had never seen and I never heard of, and starring De Niro. And these are early De Niro films, like early De Niro's first film. It was Greetings, I believe. I think he had an uncredited role in something before that, but Greetings is like one of his first films. And then Hi Mom was a follow-up to that. Body Double, another De Palma. I went through a whole De Palma thing. Sonny and Jed, they talked about that on the actual podcast, and I was interested right away. And I went and I watched that on Amazon Prime, and I was like, holy shit, I was blown away by that. I love Sonny and Jed. Dark Star, which I actually did watch, and I ordered the Blu-ray of Dark Star. It's an interesting conversation when they talk about this. And it's also, again, testament to the idea that there are different points in time when you see a movie where you'll appreciate it or have a different take on it. Like Tarantino talks about seeing Dark Star in a theater. I believe he was younger than Roger Avery. Roger Avery saw it as a teen with people that were similar to sort of the type of people in the film, right? This kind of like hippier kind of culture people. And he saw it with a different take, whereas Tarantino saw it. I think Tarantino was like 11 years old. And he says that at that time, he thought the movie sucked because he was expecting other things. So he went back, revisited, and now he literally almost gave it the M word, being a masterpiece. So I watched that and I was like, holy shit, I so get it. It's a low budget, I think a $40,000 budget, like sort of 2001 esque not rip off, but spoof space comedy kind of thing with like, it's just fun to watch. Let's just put it like that. And listening to Tarantino talk about it, listening to Roger Avery talk about it, and Gala Avery discuss it is just, it's a great film. 1975, John Carpenter, his early work. I went back, Pam Grier. I don't have to express how much of a freaking Pam Grier fanatic but I went back, watched Women in Cages. And also Big Doll House. I watched that as well. But they're hysterical films to watch now when you think about it. Duck You Sucker, which I watched most recently, which was fucking phenomenal. Oh my God. Rod Steiger and James Coburn. I watched that movie and I started to watch it again, and I'm probably going to try to order some copy of it to own it because I fucking love that movie. Django, I watched with my 9-year-old and he fucking loved it. So for me, that was a moment because I tried to get him watch plenty of movies and he hasn't watched them, or his mother, will particularly not let me show him certain films. Like he hasn't seen Django Unchained, a little too much going on there, but he watched Django, Corbucci's Django, and he enjoyed that. Black Gun I watched because, again, Quentin talks about that being one of the films he saw in an all-black movie theater and discussing it and discussing some of the stuff with Jim Brown and that film. And I had never seen Black Gun. So I was like, you know what? I got to watch Black Gun. Dirty Harry, which he talks about a lot in Cinema Speculation. Hardcore, which I believe they talked about with on the podcast. The Outfit. Navajo Joe, which I actually ordered the DVD. I tweeted about that recently. I couldn't find that on streaming, and I couldn't find a regional a Blu-ray that would play in this region, in the United States region. So I actually ordered a DVD. So we'll see what that looks like. I'm going to go and revisit the Leone trilogy, the Fistful trilogy. Fistful of Dollars. I think the other one is Another Fistful. Is it Another Fistful? Something like that. And then there's Good, Bad, and the Ugly. Rage. The Private Life of Sherlock Holmes, I actually started, but I didn't quite make it through that one. And The Light at the Edge of the World, I still need to find. I tried to find that. It was unavailable on Amazon Prime, so it might be somewhere else. If someone knows about that, let me know. But I was really interested in that. That was Yul Brynner and some pirate type of things. And the way they discussed it on the podcast, I was like, holy shit, I got to see that. So I'm waiting to see that. I'll tell you something else. Another reason to listen to the Video Archives podcast are Quentin Tarantino's Nissan Versa commercials. The ads that he does with the sponsors is just fucking hysterical. The Nissan Versa. Anyway. So So yeah, I just wanted to talk really quick in case you know, if you're someone obviously who loves film and cinema, you've subscribed to my channel, you're here, you're somehow seeing this, or if I did the right hashtagging and the algorithm all kicked in, somehow this video made it to your feed and you are watching this. So you probably enjoy film as much as I do, and you should own this book. You should definitely own this book. You should give this book a listen, a read, whatever it's going to be. And you should definitely check out the Video Archives podcast. I feel like I'm doing a commercial for them, but it's not really. It's just me showing love and an appreciation for something and sharing that with people who may not know about it. I even bought a t-shirt and a mug. Yes, I'm a fan. I'm a fucking super fan. It is what it is. You like what you like. And I have discovered true gold. It's one of those things where I hope it doesn't end. I want that podcast to keep going, and I can't wait to explore and discover much more content, much more film, and things that just really enrich my life and my cinema history and my knowledge of cinema history. And again, the book, listening to and reading Cinema Speculation, that history, you can't get that anywhere else. You can't get that. Like, it's one thing to watch a film. It's one thing to watch The Getaway, but to have the understanding of the script, the history of the script, the history of the director who was supposed to direct it, Ali McGraw, and how the casting worked for that, and hearing Tarantino's perspective on certain things, that is just fucking priceless gold. So if you're a cinema person, you're a person who loves movie, I'm repeating myself again, but definitely Video Archives podcast, and check out the book Cinema Speculation by Quentin Tarantino. All right, that's it from me on That Guy Talks Movies. That Guy Talks Quentin Tarantino. That Guy Talks his love of movies. If you've not subscribed to the channel and you're new, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, especially if you like hearing shit like this. Movie stuff, talking about movies, a passion for movies, a love for movies. And again, I will remind you, if a movie is 20 years old, it came out in 1972, 1973, 1993, 1968, Peter Yates' Bullet, right? If you haven't seen it, it's a brand new movie for you. So, you know, watch it, appreciate it, learn from it, love the movies, like the movies, hate the movies, whatever. Find yourself in the movies, but watch the movies, appreciate them. I appreciate everyone here. Hit that like button on the way out if you like this video, and I will see you on the next That Guy Talks Movies.